one change to the agenda. We have made some updates to the LTPT toolkit. We are still routing that internally, but should be ready to announce what those changes are next month and have that ready for you guys to look at. So just that slight change. But I will go ahead and jump into it for our first announcement. So talking about BEAD, we are still waiting on NIST approval for our BEAD deployment final proposal. As we understand it, we are not the only state in this position. There are many others that are in the same boat, hoping to hear about that soon. But in the meantime, we've started working with all of our subgrantees to prepare them for the grant agreement execution process and permitting and other BEAD requirements. On that same note, we have started holding our BEAD office hours again every Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:30, and then every Thursday from 2 to 3 to give technical support and answer BEAD related questions. So anyone is welcome to hop on those or share that information with any subgrantees that might be inquiring. I think most of them are already aware of it, but I will drop the links to those office hours in chat. Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. I can give a little bit of an update on that. We did get word back from NIST yesterday on one minor correction that they needed in our final proposal funding request. We made that correction and submitted it yesterday afternoon. I believe that was the last impediment to us getting our NOA. So I'm hoping in the next few days we'll actually have that in hand.
Perfect. Thank you so much for adding that. So yeah, we'll keep you all updated as we work through this. And on non-deployment, I'm sure some of you have heard Commerce Secretary Lutnick did confirm recently that there's no effort to rescind the BEAD non-deployment funds. The NTIA has also held a couple of listening sessions to gain feedback from stakeholders on these leftover BEAD funds. Florida did participate in that and advocate, for the states receiving this money as soon as possible and being able to use it to best serve their broadband needs. So that is hopeful. We are excited to hear that, and our office is continuing to prepare for all of our non-deployment programs and what we'll do with these BEAD leftover funds. We're expecting the NTA will issue a NOFO next month and give us more concrete information on that. So does anyone have any questions on deployment, non-deployment that they want to ask right now or comments? Yeah, Philip, go ahead. Oh, I think you're still muted.
Hi, good morning.
There you go.
Thanks. Hope everyone's doing well. Quick question. What's the Florida Broadband's perspective, or did they get a submission for a rider from Starlink that was talked about at the hearing? And where you just mentioned the Howard Lutnick's hearing and the Starlink rider. I don't know if what's going on there on that front. Can you provide any color there or update?
Yeah, I'll be happy to address that, Elizabeth. So we did get a rider. We did review it. We promptly put it in file 13. There's a lot of requirements in there that are contrary to what state law already says, and certainly what the guidelines that NTIA put out. So we're going to stick with the NTIA guidelines. No provider at all is going to have any special considerations as far as we're concerned moving forward. So thanks for bringing that up, but that's water under the bridge at this point for Florida.
Great. Thanks for that update, Paul. Appreciate it.
Sure. No worries.
Thank you, Paul, and thanks, Phil, for the question. Does anybody else have any questions, comments? Yeah, Sean, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So do we have any specifics about what non-deployment activities may be allowed?
Jacob, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So we don't have any specific guidance from NTIA. I know Secretary Roth mentioned permitting assistance. That's really the only thing that she's ever brought up independently. And just in terms of what the feedback the states gave, workforce was a big one. Cleanup round for remaining unserved and underserved locations was another big one. a lot of states mentioned sort of non-location related infrastructure, backhaul infrastructure. That's something we brought up as well. And then some said, digital literacy stuff. I'm not sure what exactly their appetite will be for that. So, we don't have anything specifically. Like I said, we asked for the workforce, the backhaul infrastructure and internet exchange points, the cybersecurity assistance for our subgrantees, and I think that's everything. So, like I said, we're still waiting for the specific guidance. We're still waiting for the contours. They might expand some of these things, but most, I think, we're kind of in line. Most states were in line with what we were asking for, I think.
Great. Thank you, Jacob.
If I could add to that, multi-dwelling unit connections was one of the other ones that we specifically asked for.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, for the question. But yeah, I can say on that call we heard a lot of things that we had expected, kind of the asks for the non-deployment uses that were expected previously before all of this, and just a lot of emphasis that the states, are aware of their own situations and needs, and ask for be able to have discretion to use the funds as needed. But does anybody else? Yeah, Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question on that, Paul, and maybe you can answer it. I was, listening on the listening sessions, at least to one portion of it, but is Florida or the BEAD office, are they going to have a slush fund for any issues that come up with any defaults or any folks that aren't able to complete their deployment? It seems like they just want to spend it all on non-deployment issues. And when I'm just really concerned our goal may be missed at some point. I see RDOF defaults being announced right now at the FCC, some of which could be in Florida, but I'm just curious, is there going to be some that's going to be held back so you guys can do a phase 2 BEAD?
Okay, so let's start off with, we don't have any slush funds, right? So let's call it a contingency. But yeah, our primary goal is to serve everybody in the state one way or another. We do have plenty of leftover funds to ensure that we have at least a cleanup round, and quite probably two. We are monitoring the FCC maps and the BDC and reaching out to our ISPs to make sure that we've got 15 days. So the city of Fort Pierce is now make sure that we've got the most accurate and available eligible locations served. So we will not go through this whole process without having everybody served. So we will have a contingency in order to take care of those things.
Great, thank you, Paul. I meant not a slush fund, but just a rainy day fund, contingency fund. That's what I meant to reference. So, all right, thanks. Good to know.
I know that's what you meant. We'd stay away from the term slush fund. That's not a good thing.
Any other questions or comments on BEAD? Alrighty, not seeing any hands raised or anything in the chat. So we'll move on to our next point. We had quite a few of you join the LTP2 work group that we held, I think it was the last week of January, to discuss the issue of restriction to communities by developers and HOAs for ISPs. We thought it went really well. We appreciate all the input and all those that joined, and are hoping to hold more of those in the future. So appreciate those issues being raised within these meetings so that we can then pivot and hold work groups like this. We did talk to our legislative affairs team, and just because of where we are at in session currently, we think this is an issue we're going to raise for next session and have those discussions internally about potential solutions and avenues that we might be able to take. So we will keep you guys updated when that progresses, as that progresses. But wanted to open it up for anyone that attended that might have any input, feedback, comments on it, to see, how we might be able to better these in the future, if anyone has anything they want to share on that.
I'll jump in on that one and just echo what you said. The conversation was really productive. We really, I think rely heavily on you guys and had anticipated it being productive, but it was it even exceeded my expectations. I really did learn a lot, and it was really, really very helpful for us. To Elizabeth's point, we did sort of brief our legislative affairs team and our leadership on this, and you know, it's something that we're going to raise moving forward next session. Again, the timing was just not very good on this, but with the 60-day session in Florida, it's hard to handle some of this on that short of notice. So, like I said, we are flagging it for next session. Totally open to, again, another type of policy conversation in this way. If there's something that you guys are seeing, there's something else you want to address, if there's another follow-up, like I said, please feel free to reach out and let us know. Like I said, the conversation was really productive, and it seemed like a really good conversation to have in general. So any way we can help serve you guys, please let us know. And I'll kick it over to Brandon.
And I'll just say this real quick. The sooner we bring up issues that is opposed to you guys, the better that we can take that and bring it to all leadership and potentially across the street from us. So just the sooner the better. We love having these discussions. It was actually pretty fun, and even Paul complimented it. So that was an achievement.
Yeah, if you can get a positive review from our office grump, then I think that's a good sign. But I'll echo what Brandon said about the timing. They usually ask us for legislative proposals pretty quickly after the session ends. So if you have any other thoughts, anything you're kicking around, get it to us sooner rather than later. And like I said, we can open up a discussion and see what we're doing there. So thanks again.
So yeah, does anyone have any feedback they'd like to share? I'm not seeing any hands raised or anything in the chat, but thank you all that did attend and for your input and feedback. It was, like Jacob said, very eye-opening for us to get those perspectives and raise some other issues that are also important. Yeah, Phil, go ahead.
Yes, so will you provide an update on what you're planning to propose, or when will we see that? I'm just curious. I'm just trying to understand the feedback you're asking for. I'm just want to know when you're going to go and maybe make any proposals that are out there, or what you're looking to propose, and if
Yes,
you're
sir.
going to circulate anything onto that.
Yes, I will. I'll jump in on that. So what we basically provided was sort of an issue briefing based on, just the conversation and what we've seen. Obviously, we want to make sure that we are, with any policy proposal, that we are not going to, I guess, that we're respecting all sides of the issue, and that, the developers and HOAs are obviously, what will have their opinion and their piece to say about it. So we haven't made a recommendation one way or the other, and we haven't proposed anything specific. Like I said, we're just sort of laying the groundwork in terms of just sort of breaching the issue with our leadership. Once we sort of do move into the more concrete discussions about what the proposals are and kind of the solution I think that we're going to try and pursue, we'll make sure to loop everyone in and keep you guys updated on that. But like I said, I do just want to emphasize that we're sort of still in the early stages of this in terms of our conversations with our leadership. And like I said, we'll make sure to let you guys know sort of when we have fleshed out a more sort of concrete proposal.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Anybody else? Alrighty, well, we will go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. So we have tentative dates for the 2026 Broadband Summit. They will be September 14th through the 16th at the Hilton Orlando Lake Buena Vista. These are very much tentative. We are looking to finalize or get some more concrete details in the next month or so about exactly when we'll be holding this and where. So we will confirm that with y'all and keep you in the loop, but just wanted to put that on everybody's radar because we do start planning for that early, and we know some of y'all do as well.
I'll just say on that, so in the past, we've partnered with the Career Source Workforce Summit. This would be the same. Just as an FYI, we would be switching places. The way that we had handled it in the past is the career source went Monday to Wednesday, and we took over from them Wednesday to Friday. This year they are doing Wednesday to Friday, and we would be again, like Elizabeth said, tentatively we're still working out the details here, but our plan is to partner with them again. And the Lake Buena Vista, for those dates, that's their summit. So we would be taking over the first half of the week, the Monday to Wednesday, and then passing it over to them for Wednesday to Friday. But I think in terms of the scheduling, it would be similar to what we've done in the past. The Monday, the first day, would be sort of a late night, not late night, but a reception at night, 6 or 7 p.m. Sort of a kickoff from a keynote speaker, and then we would have a full day of content on that Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we would have a half day and sort of the conclusion. We would, I think, continue in the tradition of having a closed door LTPT sort of networking / roundtable event, as well as some community outreach focused content that I think would be helpful to you guys. So like I said, keep an eye out on that. We'll let you know once that all gets finalized. And I'll kick it over to Paul. I believe that we'll do the same in terms of the way we've handled the payment for one team lead to come stay at the summit for free. So like I said, once we get more information on that, we'll sort of communicate that to you guys. But like I said, looking forward to it again. Hopefully, it's another productive year for us. So thanks.
Yeah, Jacob, thanks. Same as last year. I'm also trying to do the best we can to have some extended office hours for closeouts for those ISPs or folks that have capital project funds awards or broadband opportunity fund awards, because we're right at the very end of that closeout period. So if there are any issues that you have, you can feel free to stop by and see us, and we'll try to resolve those so that we make sure that we close all of these out before the end of December of this year.
Beatrice, I think in the past we've always done one. Jacob, you can correct me if I'm wrong as far as LTPTs attending.
Yeah, I believe it's just the one. Paul, let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe we had one per team.
Correct. One per team, no elected officials.
Yep, so thank you, Jacob and Paul, for that. We will keep y'all updated as we get more details on it. Does anybody else have any more questions on the summit? And Phil, it's going to be September 14th through the 16th, so Monday through Wednesday.
So the dates are available, and will you have an agenda? That's one of the things our process asks of us. How soon will we have an agenda to attach? Rough one. Doesn't have to be very specific.
We are working on that currently. Obviously, we have like little internal routing processes that has to go to, but we will get it out to you guys as soon as we can.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions on anything before we move over to the LTPT only section of the call? Alrighty, well, thank you all for hopping on. I'll go ahead and ask any non-LTPTs to step off. Our next meeting will be March 19th, so thank you all for joining. All right, it looks like mostly everybody has stepped off. So wanted to open it up, as always, for any LTPT things that y'all would like to share, any achievements, comments, concerns, questions that you might have. And if anyone had any feedback on the work group that attended and didn't share it, you're welcome to as well.
Elizabeth, this is David. First, I really appreciated. I laughed out loud whenever it said even Paul, and I'm like, I love Paul. Paul, you are a hero. So thank you for everything you do. Um, so I was literally chuckling out loud. Um, I thought that the work group was really helpful and informative, and we run into that so often down here where builders are, and this is the challenge, where builders are buying the land, are doing the development and putting in the infrastructure. And the challenge that I see, and one of the things as we're looking at, possibly some legislation, is that the vendors um, that are making these arrangements with the builders are doing exclusivity. And it's part of the contracts that they're signing, that the homeowners are signing with those builders. So the contracts are already in place that says, I passed one and I stopped and I called intentionally for it. I'll leave the builder name out, but it's a major builder in this state. Who literally, I said, hey, I want to move in here, and I see that internet is included. What is the base? And they went, oh, it's 50 meg. And I went, excuse me? Do I have to pay for the upgrade? And they went, oh, yes, that is done through your HOA and through us. So I have to, though people that are moving into these subdivisions aren't asking the questions up front and negotiating that. Oh, my internet is included when I buy my home. What speed and whom? And that's what, unfortunately, I don't know how we as local governments can assist with that, because that really is, I understand, it is a contractual agreement between a purchaser and a builder. And so that's, the area that, and almost all the ones that I get drug into, and I think Elizabeth even mentioned me by name those are the calls I'm getting, is I'm up here and I only have one provider and I want to use the other provider, but they won't let them come into the neighborhood. Well, contractually, they don't have to let them come into the neighborhood.
And David, that's exactly the situation that we're hearing from the providers, is that we see those locations ourselves. We see those locations as unserved and underserved, right? Like you said, they're getting 50 down. That doesn't meet the definition, right? So we say, okay, well, we're going to put this out to bid, and then the providers come in and say, all right, great, let me into your development so that I can fulfill my contractual obligation with the state of Florida. And they're saying, no, we have an exclusivity agreement. And those people are unserved, and it's bad for consumers. And that's exactly, the issue that we're seeing, is that those exclusivity agreements are making it impossible for competition to come in, and for other, providers to be able to serve them in a way, like I said, that meets these minimum federal definitions. Because again, these are specific, problems that our funding is designed to address. And if we can't get in, or we can't help our providers get in, then
Right.
people are being left unserved. So that's definitely something we want to address. And that's definitely, in terms of if it's a legislative fix or however, that's definitely something we want to make sure that we address. So,
and Jacob, along that line, the brand new subdivision that I'm talking about, they have intentionally started it at a number that would officially meet the definition. And when we submitted our unserved and underserved, they were included in that because they are. However, the builders are coming back and going, for $200 a month, you can now have 50 meg. And now you're officially in the served range. Now, notice what I just said. For $200 a month, when I could go to another provider that's literally across the street and, have a gig for $49.99.
Yeah, exactly. And so just as anecdotally, I moved about a year ago, and I moved into a new development, and they just so happened to not have an exclusivity agreement, and I had several choices. I had, I think, 3 or 4 providers that I could choose from, and
Right.
I will tell you, I did not have to pay $200 a month for 50 down.
Right.
So, that's those exclusivity agreements are, again, like you said, and people don't know to ask,
Right.
because why would you? It's served, it's included, great, check box, done, and then like you said, you get there and you find, oh, you have to pay $200 to get, again, 1/10 of the service that someone is getting for a quarter of the price across the street.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, Brandon, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I'll build on to that. And speaking to the proposals that we sent, I don't want to get to the specifics, but we offered a few different solutions that kind of varied on how just kind of varied on the possible paths it can go down to. Again, the timing wasn't right, but we're hoping that after session and we get into progress of doing these proposals, that David, what you mentioned is definitely something we're going to try to include in our proposals. Again, we still don't fully know what this might turn out, but I'm excited to help you guys with this.
Thanks, Brandon. And yeah, Jacob, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's obviously 2 sides to the issue, and we don't want to get into a fight here, I think, is the one thing I'll say. We're trying to be narrow with it. We're trying to address a specific problem, and we are trying to, it doesn't sound controversial to us, but obviously we're on one side. So like I said, we are trying to make sure that we step on people's toes to the least possible extent here. Again, we'll see how this all shakes out. But like I said, just want to give that caveat. We're really trying not to get into a fight with anyone here.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. And thank you again to everybody that did join and has provided feedback. If there is any sort of similar issue or different issue that you think would benefit from a work group like this, please feel free to raise it on the calls or send me an email, and we can look into doing another one of these, because like we've emphasized, it was very informational, informative, and would be open to holding those again. But thanks again, David, for the feedback on that.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for hosting it and putting it together. And I think some of the people that perhaps were on there are looking for that fight. And I want to be cautious that us as local governments have to, what is a contract between a builder and a homeowner is not necessarily something that we can, quote unquote, legislate at a local level.
Certainly, and we understand that the developers and HOAs are very deeply involved in communities as well and have relationships with the local government. So trying to, like Jacob said, be cautious in our approach to this, but try to address the underlying issue.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. We do not want to put you in any sort of awkward situation in that way. That's definitely something that we are carefully considering.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Yeah, Paul, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I can appreciate both sides of this, right? But there's probably some middle of the road solutions, right? To a lot of the new developers up here, as they're building their infrastructure, they're allowing multiple providers to be in their easement. So you still have a choice, right? You're not forced to go with provider A or provider B. And maybe that allowance as part of the requirements for developer would be something to be palatable all around. Now they're not going to make the $150 per month cost that's increased when you have an exclusivity agreement, but at least it would be something to provide a market share within that homeowners association, within that development. So if you have some suggestions, some reasonable suggestions, unbiased suggestions on how to resolve the issue, please send those to Brandon and Elizabeth so that they can incorporate those, right? Because our minds are not all encompassing. We don't know everything that you all know. So if you have some reasonable suggestions that are unbiased, then please submit those to them so we can get those incorporated into our paper.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else on that same subject that has anything they'd like to add? And while we're just talking about last month's call, I wanted to say I think probably most of you all saw I sent out the Marion put the phone down information that Matt and Beth McCall from Marion County got sent over to me recently. So just happy to share that with y'all. If you have any questions, Beth is more than happy to answer them. I think I included her email and contact information in that email, but just wanted to give you a heads up that I had passed that information along. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up? Any questions, comments, concerns? Alrighty, well, I'm not seeing anything in the chat or any hands raised. So if nobody has anything else, we'll go ahead and conclude. I will see you all next month, March 19th, and I hope everybody has a good rest of their week. Thank y'all for
Thank
joining.
you.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.